My daughter Reagan is not shy. Like most 7-year-old girls, she is spirited, playful, sassy even. Among her friends, Reagan is a social magnet. With family, she is equally dynamic. In fact, most nights she entertains her 4 siblings with relentless knock-knock jokes, armpit flatulence, and YouTube-caliber renditions of Hit the Quan. My daughter Reagan is not shy. Last summer, Reagan officially became a swimmer, earning her deep water badge. Now, most novice swimmers Reagan's age start off with the regular diving board, yet Reagan made a beeline for the 15-foot high dive springboard. After she bounded to the edge and plunged cannonball style into the water below, she beamed at me and said, "Next time, Mama, I'm going to do a swan dive." My daughter Reagan is not shy. Yet, if you were to approach and introduce yourself, she would most likely remain silent, eventually averting her gaze to the floor. If you followed up with a question, she might nod or shake her head. If I am standing next to her, this is about the time when her little hand will invariably reach for mine. My daughter Reagan is not shy. She has selective mutism. Full disclosure, I love to talk. As a child, I happily embraced every opportunity to verbally exchange ideas with others. My chattiness in elementary school actually resulted in a few too many trips to see the principal. There might as well have been a sign with my name on the chair outside his office. So I naturally believed that I would surely pass down my gift of the gab to any future offspring. My son's birth in 2007 affirmed this conviction. Reminiscent of the Energizer Bunny, Riley, my eldest, appeared to be more talkative than I was. But when his sister Reagan came along a little over a year later, my beliefs were quickly challenged. Her expressive language as a toddler followed similar acquisition patterns. She spoke clearly in simple sentences. She correctly identified colors, shapes, and letters. She even sang along, much to my chagrin, with her favorite purple backpack-wielding explorer on television. But outside the home, Reagan was seemingly mute. And this really sank in during my first conference with her daycare teachers. They explained to me that although Reagan was happy and actively engaged in class activities, she was noticeably more quiet than her peers. She played eagerly with her friends, laughing and smiling regularly throughout the day. Yet, when a teacher or a classmate asked her a direct question, Reagan's response was nonverbal. A nod, shake of the head, shrug of the shoulders. Concerned, I followed up with our pediatrician. But the doctor insisted that Reagan's behavior was perfectly appropriate. "It's just a phase," she assured us. Relief instantly washed over me. The doctor's words were like a salve. I told Reagan's teachers that she was fine. My wake-up call came when Reagan entered pre-K. Academically, her development was on point, but she was still mostly nonverbal at school. With our pediatrician's words in mind, I tried to keep my worries at bay. And it worked, until the preschool director pulled me aside one fateful afternoon during pickup. She was direct. "Reagan doesn't talk at all at school," she said. Before I could reply, she added, "And it's a problem." I looked at her nonplussed, my cheeks reddening as she proceeded to diagnose my daughter as oppositional defiant. What she said next would finally push me into action. If she doesn't speak within the next 6 months, she warned, she'll have to leave the school. I couldn't believe that this woman was in charge of educating young children. Still, her careless dismissal of Reagan as a learner and as a child made me take stock of my daughter's struggles. And it made me realize just how much she needed me. A few weeks later, we withdrew Reagan from the school. Thankfully, we were able to secure a spot for her at a local preschool known for its whole child approach. The teachers and the staff there were wonderful with her. I felt so blessed. But I knew that Reagan needed more, and so I set out to find a child psychologist to evaluate and work with her. Eventually, we learned that Reagan's struggles to verbally communicate were not about oppositional defiance. She had selective mutism, often called SM, a childhood anxiety disorder affecting approximately 1 in 140 children in the United States, characterized by a child's inability to speak and verbally communicate effectively in some select social settings. For Reagan, she spoke fluently when in her comfort zone, yet she literally could not speak in certain situations. It was difficult to accept Reagan's diagnosis. With time and further understanding of SM, however, I began to feel less helpless. As my awareness grew, so too did my resolve to get my daughter the help that she needed. And for Reagan, this meant weekly cognitive behavioral therapy sessions in conjunction with medication. For me, it meant undergoing retraining as a parent. I had to relinquish any expectations I may have had about my daughter, about who she was and who I thought she should be. Reagan's development as a child wasn't about me. It was about her. And once I fully understood this, I became an even greater source of support and advocacy for her. The lack of quality research and general awareness about selective mutism is a serious barrier to helping those children suffering from this disorder. Selective mutism has largely gone unnoticed by physicians who are unfamiliar with its key signs and symptoms. Many pediatricians assume that SM children are merely exhibiting excessive shyness that will pass with time. But as I learned, simply waiting for your child to outgrow her selective mutism will not help it go away. Instead, if left untreated, it can have real negative consequences on a child's life, paving the way for social isolation, poor academic performance, severe depression. Early, accurate diagnosis and intervention are crucial to overcoming selective mutism. So awareness about the disorder among educators is key. Yet, as my unpleasant exchange with Reagan's former preschool director showed, far too many educators lack a real understanding of selective mutism. As a result, they commonly mislabel SM children in their classrooms. With proper treatment, however, SM children can learn to develop the necessary skills to overcome their silence. Our family really is quite fortunate. Reagan has a wonderful therapist who she's been working with now for almost 2 years. In that time, she has significantly worked her way up the conversational ladder, gradually increasing the number of people with whom she verbally communicates. Still, Reagan has more work to do. These days, she can order a cake pop from a Starbucks barista with seeming ease. Yet, she still struggles to verbally communicate with many of the adults in her life. She can't ask her teacher permission to use the restroom. Instead, she must write messages in her trusty notebook. She can't tell her grandparents that she loves them over the telephone. She can't say goodnight to her new stepfather before she drifts off to sleep. It's hard. Of course, I understand the pain that many of our family and friends experience because they desperately want Reagan to speak to them. At the same time, I realize that despair is not helpful. What Reagan needs from me, from all of us, is no different than what any other child needs. Patience, support, understanding. Reagan wants people to look beyond her silence, to read between the lines of her notebook and see who she truly is. She recently spoke to me about this on camera. Take a look.
I don't like that people always focus on me talking. They ask questions like, why can't you talk, and when will you talk? That's annoying. I have selective mutism. So what? There's more to me than that.
My daughter Reagan is not shy. Yes, she has selective mutism, but as you just heard, she doesn't let it define who she is. Why should we? Thank you.